Welcome. Today I'm going to do a video that's going to focus on three things. It's going to focus on eyebrows, contouring, and highlighting. And you might be wondering why I'm picking those three things to concentrate on. The reason I want to do those three things today is because although, we all can do our makeup quickly and get out the door and look fairly good, there is a big difference between doing makeup that's professional looking and doing just makeup to get out the door. And when you really want to look your best and you want to do that little bit of extra, I wanted to show you how to do it correctly because I know a lot of women get intimidated by those three things. Eyebrows are the first. And believe it or not, and probably a lot of you won't even notice this, but I have two different eyebrows on right now. This eyebrow on the right is my natural eyebrow. I didn't touch it at all. And the one on the left, I actually put brow powder and gel on it. So as you can see, they're not that much different. And some of you might not even be able to tell, but there is a little difference in that this one is a little bit thicker and a little bit more arched right here. This brow is actually comes up a little bit higher, so I don't have to worry so much about this one. This one doesn't. This one has a little less hair right in the corner. So if you can compare your eyebrows and you see a difference and you notice that one eyebrow is better than the other, it's really important to try to make them look more even and more symmetrical. So sometimes you don't have to do exactly the same thing on both brows. Now I'm going to finish this brow since I didn't do it. I want to show you how I did the other brow. But again, I don't need to do this brow as much as that brow because this brow is arched. It comes up higher. So I approach the way I do these two eyebrows slightly differently. And I want you to know that that's okay because if one of your eyebrows is thicker than the other and you do them both the same, you're still going to have one that's thicker than the other. And the point is to really try to make them more symmetrical. The other thing is to remember when you do eyebrows is that your arch, where your arch is placed on the eyebrow is very important. Some people I notice have eyebrows that arch too soon, where they really are like starting to arch here, which gives you like a V shape to your eyebrow. You don't want that. Some people have a very thick inside corner. They go very thick in here and it gets like thin as they come out and it gives them that little paisley look. And that's not great either. And some people just don't finish their eyebrows. Most of the times, I would say the thing I see the most is this look, where an eyebrow is great to here, and then it sort of like doesn't grow anymore, and they just leave it. So it is important to know that your eyebrows should end where the corner of your nose and corner of your eye lines up. So if you take a pencil or an applicator brush and you take it and place it at the corner of your eye, corner of your nose, that's where your eyebrow should end. So if your eyebrow ends up here, it should be down, it should be ending here. And that's going to give you the most symmetrical and most natural look. As far as the inner corner, it should line up with the inner corner of your nose and corner of your eye. Okay, so you can see that that's where my brow pretty much ends, right? Corner eye, corner nose. Far set eyes. If your eyes are far set, that means they're far from each other, right? If you notice that on your eye, you need to create an illusion that your eyebrows come closer together. So this way it will bring the eyes closer together when someone else is looking at you. So if that's the case, you want to bring your eyebrows slightly in a little bit more because maybe your eye isn't really starting at the corner of your nose if it was lined up. Maybe your eye is starting slightly out a little bit. So that's a trick to bring that kind of an eye in a little, bring your eyebrows in a little bit more close together. And vice versa, if your eyes are close set and the space between your nose is smaller and there's not enough space, between the two eyes, because you should be able to fit one full eye in between your two eyes. If you can't, your eyes are close set. So to offset that, you would space the eyebrows slightly further out or away from each other, okay? So I'm going to start now on my eyebrow with a powder. I'm using the Anastasia. This is a straw burn, which is a color for taupe, blondish, brown hair. Anybody that's blonde would go with this because there's really nothing lighter. Or if you don't have any red in your hair and you're more of an ash tone, you want to go with something like this. And there's a lot of colors. This is by Anastasia. They make a lot of colors. There's an auburn color for red tones. That's not too red. There's a brown, there's a blonde, there's a black color. I think that's it. I think 4 or 5 colors. Anyway, they also make a gel. So if you don't have a lot of If you don't have a lot of brow, if you don't have much hair there, you might need to use a gel or a pencil first. This powder might not grab if there's no hair there. So if that's the case, you probably want to start with a pencil or a gel. A gel would be put on the same way with an applicator that's angled like this brush, but you would be using it in a gel, which is a little creamier. So it's going to go on a little thicker, a little heavier. It's a little trickier to use. However, if you go to use a powder and you don't have much there to grab, it's not going to go on. So you'll know when you start using it, if it doesn't work with a powder, then you know you need to get a gel or a brush or a pencil. So that's a good indication. You can always start with the powder first because the powder is going to be the most natural way. And I'm going to kind of mix the two shades together. There's usually a light and a dark. Okay, now when I first start, what I want to do is start with the bottom of my brow and just sweep it across so that I'm following my natural line. And I'm just kind of filling in all those little holes where maybe there's not so much hair. Okay? And it's going to give me a nice straight line, so it's going to be a little sharper looking. Notice how already it looks slightly sharper than it did before, right? Then I'm going to do the same thing, only I'm going to go across the top. So I'm going to take it and go right along where my natural brow is. And when I get to this point here, I'm just going to sort of stop because I don't want to go past my natural arch. From that point where your eye actually arches, your eyebrow arches, that's where you want to go thin from that point on. You never want to keep it the same width as you come down. So once you hit the highest point, you're going to take the eyebrow and start to thin it out and create a more thin line as you come into the corner. Okay, now you'll see a lot of beauty bloggers and stuff, they actually don't always come as far out. And the reason they don't get away with that sometimes is because they're doing this very thick. This is a heavier look, which looks really good when you're young and you're youthful and and it can even look good at our age, but you tend to maybe go a little less heavy when you're, in your 40s and 50s than you do in your 20s and 30s. In the inner corner, I'm going to start to just sort of brush it up to kind of give that very straight line. I want it to go straight up. I don't want it to angle. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to blend it so it's all sort of smoothed out and it's going upward, okay? So if I step back now and I look at the two brows, they should look very close to the same. If they don't, then it's time to make an adjustment, all right? And sometimes you may even get a tiny bit of overspray or powder that comes down below, so you gotta just clean that up if you do. Usually with eyebrows, you don't have that problem though. Now, what I sometimes do now before I go on is if I wanna use a highlighter under my eye and I want it to pop a little bit more, this would be the time I apply it. I don't want to do it before I use my eyebrow pencil or powder because sometimes you end up kind of going over it and taking it off. So at the very end, I'm going to use a small brush. You can use a size like this, something that's flat and compact. You don't want something fluffy. And then you're going to go into your palette and whatever's your most highlighted color, you're just going to hit right under the brow bone. So it can be a flat light color or it can be a frost, but if it is a frost, you want to use it sparingly. You don't want to go down below where the brow bone is. It should just be right along, especially under the arch, okay? And then you sort of just blend that in. You can use your finger if you want to. And there you go. Now you see how it's kind of lifted my eye a little bit more? By applying the eyebrow, I brought gravity up. I want to take your eye away from anything drooping. So if your eye tends to droop downward, you want to lift your eye with your liner and your eyeshadows. You don't want to necessarily follow your eye if it droops down, okay? Because some people do have eyelids that kind of at the corner, you'll see they come down more. So always be conscious of that. Everything is lifted. We're getting older. We want to work against gravity, not with it. We're fighting it all the way. All right, and then the next step would be to use a brow gel. Now this you can either do in a clear or a color. I recommend a clear because once you've already done the powder, you have enough color on. Tends to be overkill if you use a colored gel as well. You may want to use a colored gel in lieu of powder or pencil if your eyebrow is thick enough and you can get away with it. Or maybe during the day when you don't want as polished a look and you just want a little bit of color. Okay, so I would say for a more natural look, use the color gel on a daily basis just to run out. If you're doing makeup on your eyes, eyeshadow and all that, then I would use a powder or a pencil and then just use a clear gel to set it. That's gonna look more polished and finished. Okay, so now the first step is done. The eyebrows are done. I've already done my eyeshadow. I have foundation on and I have on blush, you know, a little bit of contour. So now what I want to show you is how to work with contouring. When I say a little contour, I have blush, not contour. Now I'm going to use a contour stick. This particular one is by Smashbox, and it's the step-by-step contour stick in bronze. Comes in a kit with 2 dark colors and a light one, or you can get them separate. So this one is just like a pencil, like a crayon. It's easy to work with because it is it's a chunky pencil. It's not like that difficult to work with. However, if you're not good at keeping a straight line, you could just use dots. So you're going to start at the tip of the eyebrow, at the base of your nose, the bridge of the nose, and you're going to start to come down. And again, you could use little dots. Okay, and as you come down, you want to take it to the bridge of the tip of the nose, right? You want to do that on both sides. Okay, and you want to leave a fair space in the middle that looks natural. If you come too close together, it's going to look way too unnatural and contoured. You know, that Michael Jackson pinched nose look, that's what it's going to look like. So we don't want to do that. Okay, now I'm going to just suggest that you blend that a little bit with a brush. And best thing to do is just use like a synthetic skinny type of brush that you can blend. Without spreading it too much, you know. So what I'm saying is use a brush that is not going to spread out too much when you do this. Okay. Now, in the interim, what I failed to show you, which I had done earlier, was I had put a little highlighter in the center of the nose. So I just want you to know that that's there. And the reason you do that, and I'm going to go over it with the white stick now, just to show you it's the same idea. You're going to put that down the center. This is going to make your nose appear thinner. So the concept is to have darker on the sides and lighter down the middle. Okay, now I'm going to use a very skinny wedge with a little foundation on it so that it blends in with the foundation and looks natural. And I'm just going to gently blend that in. Okay, you see the difference now with the contour? And I'm going to put a little bit more. I'm going to go over it one more time, just a little bit more on that bridge right there, because I could see it kind of came off when I blended it too much. And you're going to bring it down into the side of your nose a little bit. And do that on both sides. You got to be careful with this because you can make your nose look crooked if you don't blend it evenly. Okay, and then we're going to take on the tip of your nose, you're going to add a little bit on both corners. If your nose is longer, you definitely want to do this. If you have a short nose, you wouldn't do this because this is going to shorten the nose. And most people don't have a shorter nose. Most people want to shorten the nose or, you know, make their noses seem thinner. So this is usually a step that most people take. And that's going to be blended. I just do it with my finger right now. And you got to really be careful when you're doing this because if you don't blend it really well, it's so obvious and it looks horrible. So make sure you're blending really, really well and use whatever it is that you feel comfortable blending with. If you're good with your fingers, use your fingers. If you're better with brushes, use a brush. If a sponge is your thing, then use a sponge. But make sure you blend. Okay? Now, another place that some people contour is under the cheekbone, right? And you don't want to go lower than the corner of your nose, nose to ear. That's the line here that we do not want to get lower than that. I'm putting just a short line. It's going to go under my blush and along my bone. It's actually lower than my bone, actually. You'll feel your bone, you're blending it, but you're slightly below your bone. And you're going to blend, 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 blend. Now, the warmth from your finger is really good for this blending purposes. I sometimes prefer to use my fingers than all the fancy brushes because something that you don't factor in with those brushes is they don't have body warmth. The warmth from your body, from your hands, is going to melt the product into the skin. So it's really good to use your hands to blend things like that because it will soften it more. So if I go back a little bit, you can see the difference, right? You can see the difference between the two sides. This is not contoured and this is contoured. You see how it lifts the eye? Visually it's lifting the face a little bit. I'll make sure you don't have anything dark over here and it's all blended, okay? And we're gonna do it on this side now. Same thing, 2 little streaks, just slightly below your cheekbone. And then you're gonna blend, 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 blend with your finger. And this is after you've already got your blush on. So your blush and your highlighter is on already. Or at least your blush. We can always add highlighter afterwards. Okay? So again, you see how, right now it needs to be blended more. You can see it too much, right? So I'm gonna take some of it off up here because it blended a little too much on this one and a little bit below. Okay? There, better. So now you can see the difference, right? This is a contoured look. So it kind of gives your cheeks a little bit of a chiseled look, and it definitely narrows the nose. Now, if your forehead is, also, if you happen to have a long face, your forehead's long, you can put a tiny bit up there as well. And you don't have to do it everywhere, but you could use it just where you're going to see your hairline. So I would use it right there. See how that shortened it? And you can use a tiny bit underneath your lips and right in the corner there, okay? So now you see that's definitely a more contoured, chiseled face, right? So again, that's an extra step, but it definitely makes a difference. We're going to then use a setting powder, and I'm going to use the Laura Mercier. I love their loose powder. We're going to use that all over. And you're going to see that that's going to soften up the contouring, right? So now the contouring looks less visible. It's not as harsh looking once I use my powder. I'm going to do that on the other side. Okay. And sort of swirling it around like that will blend it more. You don't want a lot because we don't want to look dry. But this powder is so, so good. I love it. It is a powder that doesn't make you look dry, it doesn't make you look cakey. It's Laura Mercier. This is translucent, medium deep. And they also make it in a translucent. So when you're a little tan, if you want to go the medium deep, it's a good time to use it in the summer, and then go to the translucent for the rest of the year. All right, next I'm going to show you how to use a contour. Another way to use a contour. This is a powder contour. Now this is a Kevyn Aucoin. It's called the Celestial Bronzing Veil in Tropical Nights. Okay, and I'm going to show you. It sort of has, if you can see, it's very subtle, but it's a lighter tone up here. It gets darker as you go down. So I sort of brush, just sweep it across. You have to shake your brush and you have to go very subtle, okay? Because it does give quite a bit of color. But you see how it brings out that contour? Now that really sets it. Look at the difference between the two sides, right? It really like just gives you that chiseled look. If you're looking to look, your face to look a little thinner, this is the way to go. Again, you've got to be subtle with it though, okay? And you could use a tiny bit on your nose as well, but it is frosted, so go very lightly because you don't want to look like you're all frosted. All right, so that's that. I did say that I would teach you about highlighter, so just for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you a little bit about how to use a highlighter. We don't want to do too much. One of the things you have to remember at our age is highlighters are made from the glitter, right? They're a pigmented glitter that's added to the powder, right? So if you use something that's highly pigmented, it's going to be so frosty looking and so unnatural, and it's going to draw attention to every line on your face. So you want to use any of those highlighters very, very subtly. And I know a lot of women are afraid to use them at all, but there's no reason to. You can use them, you just have to go subtle. I'm going to use a big fan brush. This one's a little too thick, to be honest, so I'm going to sort of pinch it when I apply this. I'm going to take my highlighter and I'm going to put a little bit on the brush, and I'm going to kind of take some of it off. And then I'm going to sweep it along my cheek on both sides. Okay, so you see it now? You can see that little bit of a shimmer, right? I'll go down the center of my nose, and then a little bit right in the center of your forehead between the eyebrows, right in there. And then a little bit on the tip of your chin. And you can, again, go down with a smaller brush. You need a skinnier brush and something that's very flat, which, you know what, I'm missing a couple of brushes here, so I'm going to have to use something else I'm going to fill in with. But I'm going to just to show you, taking, I'm going to have to hold this together. It should be a flat brush. You're going to take it right down the center of your nose, okay? Because when you use that contour, you need the highlighter in the middle to really make it work, okay? So that's it. Highlighter, contour. If you felt you needed a little more blush, you could, but be careful because you don't want to be color, highlighter, contour. You got to bring it down a little. So kind of decide what your look's going to be. If you want to go a little bit more peachy and bright, then use your blush. But if you want to be more chiseled and, you know, sophisticated and more of maybe an evening look, then that's the time to use contour and highlighter. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a few things, and keep me posted. Let me know what you think. If you have questions, post them. I'll be happy to answer. All right, enjoy. Hope you have fun and play with these products, and I'll try to list the products I used as well on my Facebook page so that you know what products I used. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy.